Alright, so we already know how to multiply fractions by other fractions. Using an algorithm, a over b times c over d equals ac over bd. And this makes sense because if we looked at our first fraction, a is going to be the numerator, b is the denominator. In our second fraction, c is our numerator, and d is our denominator. So using the algorithm, we multiply numerators together. A times c becomes ac, and b times d becomes bd. And then we're left with the product ac divided by the product of bd, and then we can just simplify to find our answer. So now let's look at a couple problems that we had up for us. The first problem tells us that 1/2 of the students in the 5th grade voted on a class field trip. So that'd be 1/2 of the students in 5th are the ones who voted to go to class field trip. 2/3 voted to go to the museum. So our question is, what fraction of the class voted to go to the museum? So we know that our final answer for multiplying a fraction by a fraction, our final answer is going to tell us how much of the entire whole is going. So we're trying to figure out if 1/2 of students in the 5th grade voted, only 1/2 of those people, and 2/3 of that half voted to go to the museum. Whatever our fraction is going to tell us is going to tell us what fraction of the entire class voted and voted to go to the museum. So we can set that up as the multiplication equation of 1/2, where 1/2 is going to represent the number of students in the 5th grade who voted, times 2/3, which tells us how many voted for the museum. These two together is going to tell us what fraction of the class voted for the museum. So all we have to do is multiply denominators, multiply across, so we'll have our denominator, or our numerator here is 1 for the first fraction, denominator is 2. For the second fraction, our numerator is c, and our denominator is d, or 3. So we'll see that AB is going to be 1/2 times CD, which is 2/3. So using the algorithm, that'll be 1 times 3. 1 times 2, actually, divided by 2 times 3, and that gives us 2/6. The last thing we want to do is to make sure that these are in simplest form. I see that 2 and 6 are greatest common factors, 2 and 6 are even numbers, and the only factors for 2 are going to be 1 and 2. So since 6 is an even number, I can divide both 2 and 6 by 2, the greatest common factor, which gives me 1/3. So 1/3 of the entire class voted to go to the museum. Now let's look at our second problem. Our second problem tells us that Tim mixed 2/3 of 3/4 of a cup of flour with sugar and butter. What fraction of a cup of flour did he use? So we know that he has used 2/3 of a 3/4 cup of flour. So again, of that 3/4 cup, he only used 2/3 of it. So that's going to set us up as our multiplication equation of 2/3 2 over 3 times 3/4. So again, if we were to use our algorithm, that would make 2a, 3 is b, this 3 in the second fraction is going to be c, and 4 is d. Multiply that across, that'd be ac over bd, which is going to equal 2 times 3 over 3 times 4. Next, 2 times 3 is going to be 6. 3 times 4 is going to be 12. So he used 6/12 of a cup of flour. And the last thing we want to do is to make sure this is simplified. So for 6/12, the common factors of 6 are going to be 1, 2, and 3, and 6. Factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Of these, they share 1, 2, 3, and 6 in common. 6 is the greatest common factor, so we're going to divide both numerator and denominator by 6. So we'll divide the top by 6, divide the bottom by 6, and that gives us 1/2. So, if Tim used 2/3 of 3/4 cup of flour, in total he used just 1/2 of a cup of flour.